The animation industry is still brutal right now, and even though it's the week of Annecy, the International Animation Festival in the south of France, where there are studios and professionals showcasing all their latest work, talking about what's coming up in the next few years, and just watching a bunch of beautiful films and enjoying the mountains and the wine, for the rest of us normal people, it's really, really hard. And I think a lot of us just want to quit. We just want to throw this whole industry behind us and give up because it doesn't seem like there's a clear way out. But I'm here to tell you that if animation is your career choice, if you want to do cartoons for as long as you can work, there's a way we can do it. But it's not going to be easy and it's going to take real pivots. So today, let's talk about what some of those could be and help you just not quit. Hey there, welcome back to Surviving Animation, your guide to making in the business of cartoons. My name's Eric Calderon, and today is really on theme for what I built this channel for 8 years ago, which is just surviving in your personal career, and in this particular moment in time, surviving when the industry itself is vastly uncertain. And I think for the next few months or even years, it's going to be that way. So let's not worry about how to change it so much as what to do during this uncertain time. I'm going to try to break down some examples of things that you can do within the industry, some things that you can do outside of the industry, but it's all going to take a lot of resilience, a lot of resourcefulness, a little bit of agility. Okay, let's get into it. So firstly, I want to talk to you artists out there. Now I'm going to make this big general category of you're on the artistic side, you have some kind of classical, traditional training, whether it be an animation school or drawing or animation or painting. I think one of the most important things you can do during this uncertain time is actually get into some of the general 3D software that I've observed seems to be used across multiple industries. So the two examples I'd like to make are actually Blender and Unreal. So why do I bring up those two things? So let's start with Blender. First of all, it is a free software. It is really heavily used in a lot of indie studios. And of course, there's this great shining example of the movie Flow, which was an independent movie that made its way and won the Oscar for Best Feature Film Animated of 2025. I think it's really going to be a moment in time for Blender and anyone who wants to use that software to realize that if you have the talent, you have the passion, something as accessible as Blender can get you to a feature film in ways never before imagined and at a budget smaller than ever before imagined, and just can kind of point a North Star to where you could go and also give you a general set of skills. Now, on the other side, I really admire and actually have personally used Unreal. And I think Unreal as a general software, as a general solution, seems to also be used across multiple industries to give you some of that career stability, some of that financial stability when something like traditional linear animation may not be hiring. So having a generalist Unreal set of skills or expertise can get you into architecture, can get you into themed entertainment, can get you into gaming, can get you into compositing. So I personally have spent a lot of time in this. Even as a non-technical producer, I found it relatively accessible. There are a lot of lessons within the Unreal platform and also on YouTube. There's a couple of paid programs as well. So yes, it will be a little bit of a pivot. It will be different if you've never used that kind of stuff before, or if you're coming from another software platform, you might find a lot of stuff familiar. You might not find it as good or as in-depth or as deep as some of the other programs you may be using like Maya, but as a general software and as a general thing to put on your resume, it's a way you can help kind of mitigate the risk over this difficult time. On the other side for artists, in almost a much more analog and physical way, I think a lot of artists right now are having limited success in pivoting into some more traditional ways to kind of express their talent. So things like carpentry, things like small merchandise run. I even recently met a wonderful tufter, which is actually the art of rug making. I feel like all the skills that are used in animation, all that raw creativity, can find itself in a much more analog art form, whether again that's, seamster or seamstress, or, upcycling, clothes into making purses and bags. I mean, it seems like kind of a strange pivot, but if you're creative, if you're used to shape and form and color, it's not a full paradigm shift to move into some of these other creative art forms. It's just a pivot, and it's a different type of tool for your hand. It's a different type of training for your eye, and it's a different type of training that can actually help mitigate risk when, again, traditional animation is not hiring. As a little fun case study, my own sister, who is in the medical industry, actually recently started making some incredible upcycled purses and bags. Of course, I'm super biased because I'm her little brother, but they're super cool, super amazing. And, she took her skill and applied it to a different direction. And I think that's a great lesson for us in the industry as well. Moving over, still on the creative side, I want to talk a little bit to the writers out there, the writers who have traditionally made a lot of their business working on things like screenplays and development Bibles and, working in the traditional linear form of screen-based storytelling and have really made their career on the credits that they've had on the shows that they've done. Well, I think if you're a writer, if that really is your craft, there's a lot of side pivots that you can make that have the same relevant skills, but just reskin in a different way. I myself have actually moved much more into themed entertainment writing and writing for theme parks and writing for location-based attractions. Vastly different, but still with a lot of the same fundamentals as screen-based or linear media-based writing. So there was a lot to apply, a lot to learn. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I was able to pivot and add that. Now, along those same lines, moving into graphic novels, moving into traditional prose, moving into those areas, even writing for education or writing copy, you're a writer. If you're a writer with a capital W, words on a page should be your biggest skill set, not necessarily only the art of screenplay. So would it be a big learning curve? Yes. Are there a lot of things that you simply cannot do in these other art forms that you're used to doing in screenplay? Yes. But you were there. You were there when you were young and you learned the art of screenplay writing and you had to adapt and learn that art form and that craft. Pivoting into another one is what you need to do right now in order to stay nimble, to stay agile. There's a lot of stories to be written out there. There's a lot of writing to be done. It's not all on screen. So keep trying. So let's move a little bit to the other side. Let's talk about the producers. Let's talk about the people like myself who spend a lot of their time in corporate or behind the scenes or working with creators and directors and writers to help facilitate their animation being made. It's a really tough time for us too. Now, I think one of the most difficult times right now is actually the producer who benefited from soft people skills and being great with materials and having relationships and networking. A lot of that just dries up if there are no buyers and no shows being made and no options on properties that are going to development deals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You've actually seen a lot of this in the live action film world as well, where producer deals, overalls, they're really not happening anymore. They're drying up. Even the definition of producer may forever be changed with the smaller and different state of the industry. So what can you do? Well, for me, and I think for a lot of people around, it's really picking up some of those hard business skills that actually can adapt into other industries and also make your traditional producing much more effective. So, solid understanding of financing, really locking down accounting, understanding how legal works, really getting into the machinations of investment and return and raising money. All of those things are business skills. There are skills that will apply to you in other areas, maybe even non-creative, non-industry related areas. But when the industry comes back in whatever form it does, or whenever you find yourself working as a producer back in the form of traditional animation, you're going to find yourself much more agile, much more nimble, much more intelligent, and much more skilled to be able to look more holistically at the production, not just getting it made, not just selling it to the half dozen buyers but understanding the fundamentals of the finance behind it, trying to understand how films and TVs can make money across multiple platforms, across IP and licensing, through financing, through different financial structures. So hard skills, business skills, things that will get you pivoted, that's what producers must do. So let's go even further out. Now, let's say things are really drying up for you. It's really difficult out there and you just can't find anything that relates to your current artistic skills, relating to your producing skills or your writing skills. Well, this could be the most difficult time to pivot, but sometimes you have to look to those jobs and those careers and those passions that might speak to you but be totally unrelated to entertainment as we know it, because it is just by nature very unstable. So personally, I actually spent a lot of time during my time living in LA as a coach. I actually coached CrossFit. I was at different gyms for about 4 or 5 years. I was already really into physical fitness. That was really something that I was very passionate about. I liked hanging out with people who worked out. I liked watching what I eat. I liked actually being active. So it was a real natural fit for me. So I started that from the bottom. I went to a gym, I trained a little bit, and eventually found that there was a certification program that I could take. Then I had to basically do 100 hours underneath other coaches, and then I was an assistant coach and then a coach. I did all of this in the time in between when I was producing, you know, and then I actually moved further as I got more confident. I actually was doing personal training, I was doing one on one training, and it really actually helped get through some of those tough moments when the deals were not coming in, when everything was just not happening, or when things were taking 3, 4, 5 times as long as I expected. So, for your case, what does that mean? I mean, if I were to go back right now and start my career over 22, I would absolutely learn to be an electrician. I would learn to be like a plumber. I would learn to be like a roofer. I would want those hard skills that in a freelance or a corporate environment could just make ends meet, and maybe even start a little side business, you know, owning and running a coffee shop, or working in a restaurant. All those things that seem like they're unrelated, they find their way back into your craft, into your grit, into your personality, and even to your work. I met a lot of really interesting, wonderful, beautiful, incredible people in the fitness industry that really impact how I create today. So look to some of those personal passions that are outside of traditional entertainment and use those as a way to make the foundation for your financial well being. Okay, one big last thing I want to talk about is actually development. So, I think anyone in the industry will tell you right now it's just a terrible time to try to bring originals to the traditional marketplace of buyers and distributors. And to be honest, they're right. It's a really bad time to bring out an original. So, should you stop creating originals? Should you stop thinking about those? Absolutely not, because I firmly believe that the next great idea is not going to wait for the market conditions for it to be born. Wonderful, great, original ideas that change culture, that move the industry forward, that give us true paradigm shifts, they just arrive when they arrive. So you have to keep yourself open to it. If the inspiration strikes, if the moment is there, if you could feel it all in your blood, in your bones, that this is the new original idea that the world needs to know about, you gotta follow that. That's what this whole industry is about. It's not only about talent creation and talent incubation, it's about idea incubation. It's about new formats. It's about finding that next idea. So it is a terrible time. It doesn't mean you pitch it right now, but you got to keep creating. I think for all of us in the industry, that's what we're here for. That's what excites us. So keep creating, keep it in your notebook, and wait for the right time to strike. Okay, I just want to sum up this video by saying I think I kind of muddled my way through this because I really don't have all the answers. All I do have are some inspirations, some ideas, and maybe some directions that I think people might have value in listening to help them get out of the rut of thinking that animation and entertainment is just a place they want to quit. I'll speak personally that I myself am trying new things every day. I've entered into the themed entertainment industry, something I never thought I'd do. I'm trying the licensing business. I'm taking a big financial risk on that. We'll see if that works out for me. I stepped into Unreal. I put my 15, 20 hours into the platform, tried to see if there was something that spoke to me, see if it worked for me. I'm still no good at it, but I'm going to keep trying. And I'm also really moving more into refining my passion for video games, getting back in there, finding out why people love it, find out why I love it. And maybe there's going to be a way where I can combine all the things that I've accumulated in my life into some video game that has licensing, that has business and themed entertainment and animation. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that I keep going. I keep trying to survive. I keep crawling my way forward because I realize the skills and discomfort that I'm pushing through right now will be the things that I will use to survive tomorrow. Because it's not the skills I have today. It's not what I've learned up until this point because everything has changed. The industry has gone upside down. So I've got to go upside down with it. We all have to recreate ourselves. We have to pivot and pivot hard and just don't quit. Okay? All right, that's all I got for you. Hang in there, keep surviving, and I'll see you in the next one.